Okay, it is tractor day again. I have in front of me, that you can't see yet, a pile of parts to get the racing lawnmower together over there. So let's spin the camera around and see what we got. Alright, they are both mounted. I ended up using ratchet straps and wrapped two around per tire to squish the edges down on the inside of the wheel, and then took a little container of soap with a little bit of water to give it a little bit of a liquid seal around the bead, and squirted her up with some wind, and they inflated. Now I'm just going to take this tractor with the hoist thing over here and move it over here so I can work in the not wet spot of the garage. So I've looked at the front end and figuring out how I want to set it up on blocks so I can adjust it up and down to get the height where I need to. I'll have to reread the rules to know where I have to have things, but it looks like if I remove these 4 bolts and the same 4 bolts on the other side, the entire front end, like the spindle and pivoting point in the front, will just drop out of it. So we'll see if that's actually the case here in a second. You missed it. But the front end fell right out of her. There's a bolt on the other side still. Okay, so all I've done is roll the rear wheel and tire over there, just to get a sense of what it's going to maybe look like, and then I have to take some measurements and make sure that I am at the proper height, and then figure out where I need to chop a hole in the chassis over there. So, as you can see, I just kind of have the wheel rolled over here. All I'm going to do is feed the axle through with the hub, get it leveled out, and figure out where I need to chop over here to mount my bearing plate. The rules stipulate that I need to have 4 inches of clearance from the body of the chassis and the ground, and I need to have at least 2 inches of clearance from the mower deck halves that get mounted on the side of the chassis and the ground. So I'll have to get out a measuring tape and do some measurements and see what I need to chop off, where I need to be, how I want to, and then I also need to, of course, pay attention to looks. I don't want it to look, weird too, form over function, of course. Okay, so after a few measurements and I lowered her a little bit, this is going to be the final stance. So this is set at 7 inches of ground clearance in the front, 7.5 in the back. Now, per the rules, I could technically drop it some more, but then the deck height or deck clearance gets in the way. So right now, where the deck halves are going to mount, I have 1/2 inch of play, meaning that below the deck I need at least 2 inches. I have 2.5. So I could go a hair lower, but this is low enough and will work. So I just need to, like I said, feed my axle through this hole over here and figure out where I need to cut the hole. In the meantime, for a second here, I'm going to roll the front tires up next to it and see what that looks like. So I don't have wheels in there, of course, but that's kind of the look it's going to have. And of course they're deflated, they'll be a little bit bigger, but that's what it's going to look like. And then out of curiosity, I decided to drop the hood back on it to see what it looked like. The rule books allow for discrete clearancing of body panels. I'll probably need to clearance this front hood a little bit so the wheel can actually turn, but that's what I've got for a stance. Just need to put those deck halves on there to get the full sense of the stance, but that's what it's going to look like.